What's up, everybody? My name is Big Cam and welcome back to another 1/6 scale Hot Toys figure unboxing. And this weekend we got a couple of ladies coming out. And yesterday we did Captain Marvel from her original Captain Marvel movie, and that figure looks really good. So I figured, why not do another woman? And my collection is severely lacking women at the moment, so why not add two more ladies to the shelves? And today we will be unboxing Ant-Man and the Wasp's The Wasp in Janet Van Dyne, and this is MMS 498, so a little bit older of a figure than that Captain Marvel figure that got unboxed yesterday. But yeah, I've always loved the look of her, like yellow with the wings of the Ant-Man girl, you know, the Wasp. And yeah, I really need an Ant-Man now in my collection, and I got this from my local comic book shop. And it was funny because I went in one day and they had Ant-Man and the Wasp next to each other, and then they had Miles and Spider-Gwen, and I was like, oh, cool. So I'll come back this weekend. Saturday I'll buy those two figures. Sunday I'll buy the next two figures. So I come in Saturday, somebody had bought Ant-Man and Miles but left the Wasp and Spider-Gwen, and I was like, no! So now I'll have to go find a Miles and I'll have to go find a Ant-Man, but I almost had them like discounted, you know, in person. Yes, they're pre-owned, but they were right there in person, you know what I mean? So I almost had my grubby mitts on them, but somebody else snagged them before me, and that really bugged me. But either way, Ant-Man and the Wasp here, now that we have her in hand. We have her on the front of the box there with the PEM logo down bottom, Ant-Man and the Wasp up top corner, more of the PEM logo on the side, the Wasp up top, the Wasp on the back, warnings, legal information, store locations. Nothing too crazy going on, so why don't we pop the top of this tray off. Ooh, and then it has a little slip cover that has the cast and the crew and everybody that like made this figure and did the artwork for it and made this figure possible. Shout out all those folks. But just to take this figure up out of this box, just popping off the top of the plastic tray, but instructions down bottom. Make sure you guys read those. Don't want to screw up your figure. And it looks like they have a Janet Van Dyne, what's her name? Evangeline Lilly or something like that. And I think she quit acting actually too, but that is definitely the Hope Van Dyne head sculpt that I wanted with the ponytail. I don't necessarily love her look from Ant-Man Quantumania, and I also just don't really love that movie, although I think Kang was pretty damn good, but underused and defeated by ants. So like, you know, hopefully Marvel circles back on Kang in the future and they bring back Jonathan Majors to do him justice. But yeah, not a bad looking head sculpt. It really does have the likeness of Evangeline Lilly, so that will definitely be my Wasp in the collection once I get my Ant-Man. But I also really love, and I've always loved the way that the mask looks, and it like slots in and then they click the button, they shrink down, you know what I mean? So Waspy here, taking her out of the box. Her figure actually feels pretty damn good. It feels like a very similar body, like the actual underbody feels very similar to Captain Marvel, but maybe maybe the brassieres are slightly bigger, maybe the booty is slightly less big, but it does look like there's some plug-ins on her back for some wings or just like a little cap to cover up the back, but there's also batteries in here, so where would her light-up effects be? Maybe in the visor or something like that? Maybe. It does look like maybe the back of the head comes off for batteries. But yeah, that mask, the actual mask of like the Wasp and Ant-Man looks really good. But I wonder where the light up effects are on this. I wouldn't have pictured her with light up effects unless they're like around the wrist or something when she's like, they're glowing and they're shooting like the discs, the little shrink disc or the grow disc. Which there is a shrink and a glow disc right here for her to be able to hold. But there's also like this, maybe back of the helmet. So I guess this is why you read the instructions, because there's like little parts that I'm like not sure where they go. Interesting little first Ant-Man figure for me here. No crotch grabber, but the base does come with a flight pole for flying poses. Obviously, this is a flying character. A couple of female flying characters I'm doing this weekend. Captain Marvel's flying, and also the Wasp is a flying character. So yeah, Hope Van Dyne on the front of that base there. That's a nice touch. It doesn't just say the Wasp. so we actually get her character name. And yeah, not too many accessories, a couple of other swap out hands and a head sculpt, but one of my favorite accessories that I'll definitely show you guys closer image of is the miniature Wasp, and like the small version of her they have here too. So that's a nice little touch. But yeah, nothing too crazy going on here, but I definitely need to read the instructions to see how this figure works. But yeah, why don't we take all of Hope Van Dyne's accessories out of her box here, lay them on the desk out in front of me, and then we'll take a closer look at everything that the Wasp has to offer.
Oh, right, everybody. We got Mrs. Hope Van Dyne from the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie in her little outfit there. And I definitely thought her outfit would have been a little bit more yellow, but I actually kind of like the more muted tones. You know, it gives it a little bit more detail. But I definitely think the vibrant yellow would have popped off the shelf a little bit more. But I do believe when you put batteries in her mask there, I believe the mask will light up yellow like the poster behind her, which isn't a bad touch. A little, you know, different sizes of Hope Van Dyne and Ant-Man and the Wasp. Probably not something I'll use, you know, long term, because I'm pretty much out of space in my collection. But the accessories for this bad girl, she comes with a couple of hands. She comes with like a maybe relaxed hand or maybe like a grabbing hand. And then she comes with like this splayed out hand, like maybe she's reaching for something, or maybe she's like flying and those are like her hands back, kind of like in that pose there, maybe a little bit, or like that pose behind on the poster. You know, it's more of a maybe she's taking flight and this is the hand she uses to like balance herself with the wings. And then obviously she has right and left wings, and if you're wondering, on like the little end of the wing there's like little R's and L's, so you can place those on the right side of things. But also then down by the base we have that little Hope Van Dyne as an ant, you know, as the Wasp down in the miniature size. And then she comes with a hand to be able to grab these shrinking and growing discs that she can throw at somebody. And then obviously she comes with a flight pole, and that would be a waist grabber there for flying poses. And then she comes with this little piece that I was confused about when I was first unboxing. But this goes on the back of the head, and it's supposed to be for the Hope Van Dyne head sculpt when the mask is off. That's like what it looks like retracted, like behind her neck. And then this piece is for her little backpack, which we'll show here. The backpack on the back has an option for like the wings closed. And then you'd use that piece when the actual wings are open. The wings are much bigger than I was expecting too, you know, like they don't necessarily look that big there, but maybe they're pretty big. I don't know, but the wings, pretty cool. But the figure herself, you know, not bad. You know, maybe the ankles are a little weird, and getting her to stand has been a little bit weird, but, you know, the actual design of the suit looks pretty good, and the helmet maybe looks a little weird on the back side of the helmet, but that's all right. The actual design of the look of the helmets I've always really loved. But now I'm going to have to go get me an Ant-Man, because you can't just have a Hope Van Dyne and no Ant-Man to go along next to him, right?
So taking a look at the Janet Van Dyne head sculpt, and it looks pretty damn good. It's pretty spot on to Evangeline Lilly, and this is definitely the hairstyle I prefer. The first movie she had that awful bob, and then the third movie she had like this really short haircut that really didn't look that flattering on her as well. But, you know, the little wisps of the hair up top there, not a bad look either. Little sideburns, the ponytail. The ponytail does rotate around, so like say the little thing's on in the back and you wanted to get it out of the way or something, you can have it, you know, off to one side, and, you know, it's got a little flexibility so you can come straight out with it too. But I wouldn't want to do that because maybe it like falls out of the head or something. Hopefully it would just slot back in, but I wouldn't want to risk it damaging the suit. But, you know, you could have her upside down or something with the hair. But yeah, not a bad looking head sculpt. I'll probably rep this, you know, once I have an Ant-Man, so I can have, you know, Hope and Scott next to each other. But for the time being, I'll rep the, you know, Ant-Man mask, but we'll at least try this out on the figure during the posing section. And this is an older head sculpt, so there's no like, you know, moving eye function up in the center there. So, you know, maybe that would bring this figure to a whole nother level. But first, you know, just a
basic stoic head sculpt without moving eyes, it still looks pretty damn good. And the likeness is 100% there for me. But maybe like, you know, the little line could cut off like behind the ear up here rather than here on the neck. But just the last thing to look at, the base, and it has the flight pole, of course, but it has the Ant-Man and the Wasp logo up top, and you can see like little scratches and designs. That must be them going, what, down into like the quantum realm or something, or maybe that's like the building getting sucked in on itself into the quantum realm, or I don't know what that is. Comment below. What do you think that is in the background there? But you can see a little Wasp, Ant-Man and the Wasp Marvel up front there. Hope Van Dyne. Nothing too bad. Maybe a little slightly red or black little lip around the edge there. Yeah, not bad. I really do like these hexagon bases. I feel like these are the way to go for posing figures, and, you know, Hot Toys, keep them up. But just to take an up close and personal look at this figure for you guys, down by her feet, you know, you can see she has that little heel going on there. She has this little thing covering up the ankle seam, which I appreciate, but also maybe looks a little weird in person. She's got these knee pads, you know, this little material, little red line that comes down the front. This material, I wonder if like you leave it posed for a long period of time, if it will be like the old Superman suits and it will stick to itself. You know, doesn't look to be having any problems right there, but maybe there's like a little piece of rubber on the backside of that knee to keep it from stopping doing that. But you can see like the perforated material that they got going on there, but little gold details with the little red details. Yeah, little blue fabric on the inside there, so you don't have to worry about, you know, posing aggressively and ripping that in there. Maybe rip the seam, but, you know, actual posability, I don't think that's going to have a problem posing. The material up top, though, not a bad looking figure, but like I said, I think it could be a little bit more yellow, but maybe that's like the Quantumania suit, so maybe I'll have to get that one as well. But yeah, this doesn't look so bad, and you can really tell that that's maybe a Hope Van Dyne on the inside of that head sculpt there. But I've always loved the way that like the little ears look for like the masks for the Ant-Man and Wasp suits. But yeah, not a bad looking figure, and you know, got some cheeks back here, got fuzz lint on her, but you can see the little backpack, how that little red line matches up there and has the shrunken down wings. This might have to be how I rep her because those wings are freaking ginormous. But so far, I'm thinking Hope looks pretty damn good, but I'm thinking, why don't we toss her in some poses and see what the Wasp is capable of?
All right, everybody, we have Hope Van Dyne, aka the Wasp, just standing on the display base for us here, just spinning around just as she comes fresh out of the box without the lights in the mask turned on or any of the wings attached to her. And then I have Wasp with the Hope Van Dyne head sculpt on and the little accessory that makes it look like the mask is collapsed behind her head and it like attaches into like the little pack on her back. And I have her with one arm up like she's about to shoot off one of those growing or shrinking discs. And then I attached the wings onto her back, and they're actually a little larger than I was expecting these wings to be. But I have her as if Hope is just taking flight and she still has the Hope Van Dyne head sculpt on. And then in the final pose here, I have Wasp with her fully masked look with the lights turned on in the mask. And you can't really tell, you know, they do glow a little bit yellow, but even with the lights off, it still kind of looks a little yellow. But, you know, like the box looks, I wish this actual suit was a little bit brighter yellow to match that mask. But it is what it is. I might not be using that masked look in the long term anyways. But down on her base, I have that little miniature Wasp, and she has one arm up like she's about to throw one of those growing discs that's in her hand. And the wingspan is quite impressive on this figure, and I'm actually quite happy with her, but the actual room in my display at the moment, I don't know if I have enough space to accommodate those wings, so I might have to toss her in here wingless, but I think I'm going to try my best to get her, you know, with some wings on her. But why don't we go toss her on the shelf and see what she's looking like?
Oh, right. So now this shelf has switched up a little bit. I tossed Stan Lee in his astronaut suit over on the right side. And then I took off the connected, they had like an attachment of rings connecting Wenwu and Shang-Chi. So I switched up their poses a little bit, added this blue effect for Wenwu and the rings around his forearm as well. And then I gave Shang-Chi some rings as well, and he's got his staff and like a little kung fu stance, and still got the Mandarin in the center here. But, of course, we unboxed the Wasp today, so she's over here next to Captain Marvel, the other figure that got unboxed this weekend, so go check out that video if you haven't. And the Wasp is really cool, but I wish she was a little bit more vibrant. Like, imagine if she was like that color of like yellow, and she just popped right there, right behind everybody. But, she kind of blends in with the vibe, I guess, in the more muted tones, and maybe even Captain Marvel's suit is more vibrant, which is kind of crazy, but also probably fitting. But I like those two head sculpts with Hope Van Dyne head sculpt and the Carol Danvers. I opted for their head sculpts rather than the masked looks. And then I tossed on the same little base there with Goose, and I added a little riser and added the mighty Thor right behind them, and then raised up Loki and Thor in the back so that they are damn near touching the ceiling now. But I feel like that fills in that space in that back corner a little bit better. Maybe I could do something like right there and right there. Maybe move Hulk forward, fit in 2 more people back there. That might be the move. But now I got my ladies over here with Jane and Carol Danvers and Hope and Pepper Potts all on that like corner there. So I kind of dig that, where like this shelf in this room that doesn't have a whole lot of female characters in it, but at least now this shelf has a little corner of female characters. And this is more like my miscellaneous shelf anyways, like not necessarily a theme going on here, just kind of figures that need to go somewhere, right? But that's it for me, y'all. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Hope Van Dyne and the Wasp. And do you think I should get maybe the first Ant-Man suit for her? Or I don't know if she even has one from that movie. But, maybe Ant-Man Quantumania. Should I get a suit of that suit? I think that one's maybe a little bit more vibrant, but has a worse head sculpt. So, maybe give and take there. But also, should I get some other Captain Marvel? Should I get like the Endgame one? Or I don't know if there's other ones, maybe Infinity War or something. But comment below if there's more female characters out there that I should get. Or just who would you like to see me unbox next? And every weekend we've been unboxing 2 new figures every week, and they keep adding up. So more and more figures to come, and 2 more figures coming next weekend. So make sure you guys hit that bell so you don't miss next week's Hot Toys figure unboxings. And thank you guys so much for joining me today. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below, or you can message me on my other social medias. Links for those down in the description below. And once again, my name's Big Cam. Thank you guys so much. And if you guys would like to support the channel, the best way of doing that is dropping a like on this video, commenting down below, subscribing if you haven't already, and hit that bell so you don't miss future Hot Toys figure unboxings. And I will see you gorgeous folks in the next video.